Pernell Roberts' final confession. The man he hated and never forgave. The destroyed tapes. In 2008, documentary filmmaker Marcus Webb received an unusual proposal. Pernell Roberts, the actor who had abandoned Bonanza at the peak of its success, wanted to conduct the series of interviews. 6 hours, no topic restrictions, complete honesty. But there was a single condition. After the interviews were recorded, after Roberts had spoken everything he needed to say, Webb had to destroy the tapes. All of them. Immediately. "I don't want this released while I'm alive," Roberts said. "And I don't want it released after I die. I want it destroyed, erased, gone, as if it never existed." Webb agreed. He needed the money. Roberts paid $50,000 for 6 hours of interviews that would supposedly never be heard. They filmed at Roberts' Malibu home, 6 sessions over 2 weeks. Roberts was 80 years old, dying from pancreatic cancer. He knew he had months, not years, and he wanted to talk. About Bonanza, about Hollywood, about the 5 people who had made his life hell for standing on principle. Webb recorded everything. Roberts held nothing back. 60 hours of television history, rage, bitterness, vindication, truth. When they finished, Roberts looked at the tapes, 6 digital files. His entire confession, his final statement. "Delete them," he said. "Mr. Roberts, I paid you to record them. I paid you to delete them. Do it." Webb deleted the files right there in front of Roberts. Emptied the trash, formatted the drives. Roberts nodded, satisfied. "Thank you." Webb left, drove home, and immediately recovered the files from his backup drive. Because Marcus Webb was a documentarian, and documentarians don't destroy history, even when they're paid to. He kept the files secret, told no one. Not until Roberts died in 2010. Not until everyone else from Bonanza had died. Not until it felt safe. In 2024, 14 years after Roberts' death, Webb released portions of the interviews. Not everything, just the parts about the 5 people Roberts never forgave. This is what Pernell Roberts said. The words he paid $50,000 to silence. The confession he wanted erased. The story of a man who left the #2 television show in America, who walked away from fame, fortune, and success, who chose principles over paychecks, and was punished for it, for 40 years. By Hollywood, by his colleagues, by his friends, and by the group he least expected, the fans. Robert's voice on the tape, rough from age and anger. "People ask if I regret leaving Bonanza, if I'd do it differently knowing what I know now. The answer is no. I don't regret it. I'd do it again, exactly the same way. Not because it was smart, it wasn't. Not because it worked out, it didn't. But because I was right, and they were wrong. And sometimes being right is all you have, even when being right costs you everything." There are moments when a man wants to bury his own words, not from fear, but from knowing that truth, however correct, cannot change the past. I think of those handwritten letters our grandparents kept in old desk drawers, never sent. Because sometimes speaking isn't about being heard, it's about being freed. This is Pernell Roberts' story. The man who was right 50 years too early and paid the price until his final day. The man who left. Before we reach the names, you need to understand what Pernell Roberts actually did. 1959, NBC launched Bonanza, a Western series about a Nevada ranch family, the Cartwrights, father and 3 sons. Lorne Greene played Ben Cartwright, the patriarch. Dan Blocker played Hoss, the gentle giant. Michael Landon played Little Joe, the hothead. And Pernell Roberts played Adam, the intellectual eldest son. The show became a phenomenon. By 1961, it ranked number 1 in America. By 1964, 60 million people watched weekly. The biggest television show in the world. Pernell Roberts left in 1965 after 6 seasons, while the show still ranked number 2 in ratings, while his salary reached $100,000 per episode, equivalent to roughly $900,000 today. He just walked away. Hollywood was stunned. Fans were devastated. NBC threatened to blacklist him. His co-stars felt betrayed. Why did he leave? On the tapes, Roberts explains, "People thought I left because of money, ego, or some feud with the cast. None of that was true. I left because Bonanza was a lie. A comfortable, profitable, popular lie. And I couldn't participate in it anymore. The show pretended to be about morality, family values, the Old West as this noble place. But the scripts were racist. Native Americans were savages, Mexicans were lazy, Chinese were jokes. Every episode reinforced stereotypes that were destroying real people. I complained for 6 years. I fought every racist script, every lazy stereotype, every moment where we portrayed Indians as mindless killers or Mexicans as cowards. The producers ignored me. The network told me to shut up and act. My co-stars said I was difficult, making trouble, ruining the positive atmosphere. So I left, because I couldn't look at myself in the mirror anymore. Couldn't pretend it was just television, just entertainment, just a paycheck. It was propaganda. It was poison. And I was delivering it to 60 million people every week. So I quit. Gave up fame, money, success, everything. And you know what happened? They punished me for 40 years until the day I died. They made sure I paid for having principles. The tapes reveal 5 people who made Roberts' life miserable for standing up, 5 names he never forgave, and 1 group he hated most of all. But we'll get to that. First, the nice guy who enabled everything. Lorne Greene, the gentle enabler. Lorne Greene, America's father, the Ponderosa patriarch. Gentle, wise, moral, everything a father should be. On the tapes, Roberts' voice turns cold. Lorne Greene, everyone loved him. The cast, crew, fans. America's dad. I didn't love him. I pitied him, because he was a coward disguised as a gentleman. Lorne was nice. That was his problem. He was so nice, he never stood for anything, never fought for anything, never challenged anything. As long as everyone liked him, he was happy. And challenging racism? That makes people uncomfortable, makes you unpopular, makes you difficult. So Lorne smiled, cashed his checks, and pretended the problems didn't exist. The incidents that destroyed Roberts' respect for Greene began in 1961 during the 2nd season, an episode about a Paiute tribe. The script portrayed the Paiutes as savages, mindless killers attacking white settlers for no reason except bloodlust. I read it and went to Lorne. He was the star, the lead. He had power I didn't. Lorne, this script is racist. It's offensive. We can't do this. He looked uncomfortable. Pernell, it's just a story. It's not just a story. 60 million people will watch this. 60 million people will learn that Indians are savages. That's not entertainment. That's propaganda. I understand your concern. Then help me fight it. You're Ben Cartwright. You have influence. They'll listen to you. Long pause. Then, Pernell, I don't want to make waves. It's not my place to tell writers how to write. It is your place when they're writing lies, when they're dehumanizing real people. He shook his head. I'm sorry. I can't help you. I don't want trouble. That's when I understood. Lorne wasn't a good man. He was a comfortable man. And comfortable men never fight, never risk, never sacrifice popularity for principle. The pattern repeated for 4 more years. Every time Roberts raised concerns about a racist script, he asked Lorne to support him, to use his status, to stand with him. Every time, Greene refused. "I don't want trouble. I don't want to be difficult. I like everyone to get along." Meanwhile, the scripts worsened. Chinese laundrymen who could barely speak English, Mexican bandits who were cowardly and stupid, black characters who were either enslaved or criminal. And Lorne smiled, acted, collected his paycheck, and was beloved by everyone. Because he never made anyone uncomfortable, never challenged anyone, never stood for anything except his own comfort. The breaking point came in 1964. Roberts confronted Greene one final time. We were filming an episode where Hoss befriends an Indian, but the Indian was written as childlike, simple, needing the white man to guide him. Noble, savage nonsense. I went to Lorne one last time. "Lorne, please, for once, just once, stand up, say something. Tell them this is wrong." He looked at me with those famous Lorne Greene eyes, gentle, kind, empty. "Pernell, you need to pick your battles." "I've been picking battles for 4 years. When are you going to fight one?" "I fight by not fighting, by keeping peace, by making everyone comfortable." "You're not keeping peace, Lorne. You're enabling evil. There's a difference." He got angry then, only time I ever saw him angry. "I'm not evil, Pernell. I'm practical. You want to be a hero? Go ahead. But don't expect me to throw away my career for your crusade." That was it. I stopped asking, stopped talking to him about anything important. Just showed up, did my scenes, went home. We were never friends again, just co-workers. Polite, professional. Cold. I once watched an old man fix a 1940s pocket watch. He spent the entire day adjusting a single gear, while a new digital watch could be bought for a few dollars. I asked why. He answered, "Because some things can't be replaced by convenience, son." Roberts was the same. He could have stayed, closed his eyes, kept quiet, become wealthy and beloved. But there was one thing he couldn't replace: the ability to look at himself in the mirror without turning away. And for some men of that generation, keeping that mirror clean mattered more than keeping the job. Lorne Greene died in 1987 from heart failure. Obituaries called him television's greatest father, a gentleman and professional. Roberts' response on the tape: "When Lorne died, people asked if I'd attend the funeral. I said no." They were shocked. Because Lorne Greene wasn't a villain. He was just a nice guy who never stood for anything. And nice guys who enable evil? They're worse than villains. Because villains are honest about what they are. Lorne pretended to be good while doing nothing, and America loved him for it. That's the lesson. Comfort is more popular than courage. And nice guys finish first, while righteous guys finish nowhere. But Lorne Greene was just the enabler. The next man was the architect, the creator who sold his vision for a paycheck. David Dortort, the architect who sold out. David Dortort created Bonanza, writer, producer, the vision behind the Ponderosa. Robert's voice on the tape grows angrier, more personal. David Dortort, the man who sold his soul for syndication money. When David pitched Bonanza, he promised something different. A Western dealing with real issues. Racism, violence, morality. Complex characters facing complex choices. That's why I took the role. I believed him. Believed we were making something important. First season, I learned the truth. David lied. Or maybe he believed it when he said it. But the network had other ideas. And David bent immediately, completely. The betrayal came in stages. Year 1, Dortort was still fighting, writing scripts about prejudice, Native American rights, the cost of violence. The network hated them. Too dark, too political, not family-friendly. Dortort argued for about 3 seconds, then rewrote everything, made it simpler, safer, more comfortable. Roberts confronted him early on. "David, this isn't what you promised. These scripts are garbage, stereotypes and shoot-'em-ups." Dortort looked tired. "Pernell, the network controls content. I don't have final say." "Then fight for it. You're the creator. You have leverage." "I have a mortgage. I have bills. I have a career to protect." "So you're choosing money over integrity." "I'm choosing reality over idealism." Welcome to television. The breaking point came in 1963. Roberts refused to film an episode. The script had Adam falling in love with a Native American woman. Sounds progressive, right? Wrong. The entire plot was about why they couldn't be together, why racial mixing was tragic, why she had to die so Adam could return to his proper life. Racist propaganda disguised as a love story. I went to David's office, script in hand. "I won't do this." "Pernell." "I won't portray interracial love as tragedy. I won't perpetuate this poison." David stood up, genuinely angry for the first time. "You're destroying my show. Every week you complain, every script you fight, every episode you make difficult. You're killing Bonanza." "Your show is killing people, David, real people. Native American kids who watch this and learn they're savages. Black kids who learn they're criminals. Mexican kids who learn they're cowards. That's what your show is doing." "It's just a show, Pernell. Entertainment. Nobody takes it seriously." 60 million people take it seriously. 60 million people learn morality from the Cartwrights, and you're teaching them racism. David sat down, rubbed his face. When he spoke again, his voice was different, resigned. "You're going to leave, aren't you?" "Yes." "Because of this? Because of principles? You're going to walk away from the most successful show on television because of principles?" "Yes." He laughed bitterly. "Then you're an idiot. This business isn't about principles, it's about money. And I'm making millions. So is Lorne. So is NBC. So could you. But you'd rather be right." "Yes, David, I'd rather be right." "Then go. Leave. Destroy your career. See if I care. But don't expect the world to thank you. Because nobody cares about your principles. They care about being entertained. And I'm entertaining them." I left his office. Never had a real conversation with him again. David Dortort continued producing Bonanza until 1973. Made millions, became a Hollywood legend, successful producer, industry icon. Roberts on the tape. David Dortort proved something. Selling out works. He got rich. I got blacklisted. He's remembered as a genius. I'm remembered as difficult. Maybe that's the lesson. Maybe principles are for suckers. Maybe David was right and I was wrong. But I still can't watch Bonanza without feeling sick. And David couldn't either. I heard he never watched the reruns, couldn't stand to see what he'd created. That's something. Not much, but something. But Dortort was just the sellout. The next group was the machine that crushed anyone who didn't comply. NBB executives. The machine. NBC owned Bonanza. And NBC made certain Pernell Roberts paid for leaving. Roberts' voice carries pure rage now. NBC executives, the suits, the businessmen, the people who turned art into product and artists into employees. They hated me from day one because I wouldn't shut up, wouldn't play the game, wouldn't pretend television was just entertainment. And when I left, they made sure I suffered. The threats began in 1965 when Roberts announced his departure. NBC called him to a meeting, not producers, not creators, but network executives. the real power. 3 men in suits. I never learned their names, didn't care. "Mr. Roberts, we hear you're leaving Bonanza." "That's correct." "We want to discuss that decision." "There's nothing to discuss. I'm done." The lead executive leaned forward. "Let us be clear. Bonanza is NBC's most valuable property. You leaving damages that property. We take that very seriously." "I'm not damaging anything. The show has 3 other leads. You'll be fine." "That's not the point. The point is precedent. If actors can just leave successful shows because of personal feelings, that sets a dangerous example." "Personal feelings? I'm leaving because the show promotes racism. The show promotes family values. The show makes us $200 million per year. That's what the show does. I won't be part of it anymore." The executive smiled, cold, calculated. "Then let us be clear about consequences. You leave Bonanza? You'll never work in television again. We'll make sure of it. No show, no guest spots, no commercials. Nothing." "Are you threatening me?" "We're educating you about how this business works. NBC has relationships with every studio, every production company, every casting director. We make one call, and you're done." "Then make the call. I'm still leaving." They made the call. Roberts was blackballed for over a decade. "For 14 years I couldn't get work, couldn't audition, couldn't even get meetings. Not because I wasn't talented, because NBC made sure everyone knew, hire Pernell Roberts, lose your relationship with NBC. And nobody was willing to take that risk. Not for me, not for principals, not for anything. I did theater, summer stock, off-Broadway, places NBC couldn't touch. Made enough to survive, barely. Friends called it pride. Family called it stupidity. Hollywood called it suicide. Maybe they were right. Maybe I should have stayed, kept my mouth shut, cashed the checks, been smart. But every time I thought about going back, about apologizing, about playing their game, I remembered those scripts, those stereotypes, those 60 million people learning racism from the Cartwrights. And I stayed gone, stayed broke, stayed true. The blackball finally lifted in 1979, 14 years later, with Trapper John MD on a different network, with different executives in a different era. By then I was 50, my career destroyed, my reputation ruined, my finances devastated. But I was right, and they were wrong, and history proved it. Not that it matters, because being right doesn't pay rent, doesn't rebuild a career, doesn't give you back 14 years. NBC taught me the machine always wins. Always. You can fight it, you can be right, but you can't beat it. They crushed me and moved on like I never existed. But NBC was just the system. The next person made it personal, because this one was his friend, his best friend. And when Roberts left, that friendship died. Dan Blocker, the friend who turned away. This is the longest section in the interview tapes, the most emotional, where Roberts' voice breaks, where anger becomes pain. Dan Blocker, Hoss Cartwright, the gentle giant, America's teddy bear, my best friend. Until I left, then we never spoke again. Dan Blocker and Pernell Roberts became close from Bonanza's first day. Both were Southerners, Dan from Texas, Roberts from Georgia. Both outsiders in Hollywood. Both too honest for their own good. They'd eat lunch together daily, discussing real things, politics, civil rights, the war, life. Dan was progressive, truly progressive. Believed in equality, justice, stood up for the underdog. At least, Roberts thought he did. They'd complain about scripts together, about racism, stereotypes, lazy writing. "This is garbage," Dan would say. "We're better than this." "Then let's fight it," Roberts would respond. "Yeah," Dan would agree. "We should." But he never did. He'd complain, then do the script, cash the check, complain again next week. Roberts thought he was building courage, finding the right moment, waiting for the right battle. He was wrong. Dan wasn't building courage. He was venting, letting off steam so he could keep doing what was comfortable. The break came in 1965, when Roberts announced he was leaving. I told Dan first, before producers, before the network. He was my friend. He deserved to know. We were having lunch off the lot, private. Dan, I'm leaving the show. He stopped mid-bite, stared at me. What? I'm done. I can't do this anymore. The scripts, the racism, the lies. I'm out. He put down his sandwich. Pernell, you can't. I have to. No, you have to stay. For the show, for the cast, for me. Dan, I've been fighting this for 6 years. Nothing's changed. Nothing's going to change. I can't keep doing it.
So you're just going to leave? Walk away? What about us? What about the friendship?
What about the principles we talked about? The justice you said you believed in? He looked away. That's different. How? How is it different?
Because leaving doesn't change anything, Pernell. You walk away, they replace you. The show goes on. The scripts stay the same. You accomplish nothing except destroying your own career.
Maybe. But at least I won't be part of it anymore.
So this is about you. About your conscience, your principles, not about actually changing anything.
That hurt. Because part of me wondered if he was right.
Dan, I'm not asking you to leave with me. I'm just explaining why I have to go.
You're leaving us. You're abandoning the show.
You're choosing yourself over your friends. I'm choosing principle over comfort.
No, you're choosing pride over loyalty. We sat in silence, the entire friendship collapsing in that moment. Friendship is tested, not in good times, but when one friend asks the other to understand something that costs nothing, but demands everything, understanding itself. The hardest break isn't when someone betrays you. It's when someone you respect chooses comfort over the courage you know they possess. They never had a real conversation again. Dan stayed, became one of television's most beloved actors, Hoss Cartwright, the moral center of the Ponderosa. But he never spoke to Roberts again, not once, not in 7 years. Roberts tried, called him, wrote letters, reached out through mutual friends. Nothing. Complete silence. Then, 1972, Dan died, pulmonary embolism at 43 years old. Roberts went to the funeral, stood in the back, wanted to pay respects, honor what they'd had. Michael Landon saw him, walked over. You shouldn't be here. I'm here for Dan. Dan didn't want you here. You left him, left all of us. You don't get to mourn now. Roberts left, drove home and cried for the first time since childhood. Robert's voice cracks on the tape, real emotion, real pain. Dan Blocker was my best friend. The person I trusted most in Hollywood. The person I thought believed what I believed. But when it mattered, when I needed him to understand, he chose the show, chose comfort, chose success. And he hated me for forcing him to choose. That's what hurts most. Not that he stayed, but that he hated me for leaving. Hated me for doing what he knew was right. Hated me for having the courage he didn't have. Dan Blocker died thinking I betrayed him. And I died knowing he betrayed himself. We were both right and both wrong. And the friendship never recovered. That's the cost of principles, not just your career, your friendships, your relationships, everything. This is the emotional core of the tapes, where Robert's certainty wavers, where the cost becomes clear, where being right doesn't feel like winning. But there was one more person, the one who stayed, who played the game, who won everything Roberts lost. Michael Landon, the winner. Michael Landon, little Joe Cartwright, the youngest son, the hothead, the heartthrob, the one who played the game and won. Robert's voice carries bitter admiration. Michael Landon, the smartest one of all of us, because he understood something I didn't. Hollywood isn't about being right. It's about being successful. And Michael was very, very successful. Landon and Roberts were never friends. Professional, cordial, but not close. Michael was ambitious, ruthlessly ambitious. Came to Hollywood to be a star. Didn't care about the art, didn't care about the message, cared about the career. He played little Joe like a matinee idol, all charm, all looks, all surface. But he was smart, watching, learning, planning. While I was fighting with producers about racism, Michael was befriending them, taking them to dinner, playing golf, networking. While I was refusing scripts, Michael was asking for more screen time, more close-ups, more episodes centered on little Joe. While I was destroying my career, Michael was building his. Roberts confronted Landon once, right before leaving. 1965, I was done. Told the producers, told the cast. One episode left. Michael came to my dressing room, only time he ever did. Heard you're leaving. That's right. Mind if I ask why? I explained. The racism, the stereotypes, the principles I couldn't compromise. He listened, then smiled. Pernell, can I give you some advice? Sure. Nobody cares about your principles. Nobody remembers the guy who stood on principle. They remember the guy who stayed, who succeeded, who won. And that's you? That's me. I'm going to stay on Bonanza as long as they'll have me. I'm going to learn everything about producing, about running a show, about the business. And when I'm done, I'm going to create my own show, control my own career, make my own rules. By compromising everything you believe? I don't believe anything, Pernell. That's the difference between us. You care about being right. I care about being successful. And you're okay with that? He shrugged. I sleep fine. You're the one who's going to spend the next decade unemployed and angry. So who's smarter? The principled man with no career, or the practical man with everything? I had no answer. Michael Landon proved himself right. He stayed on Bonanza until 1973, 8 more years. Became the star after Dan died. Learned producing, directing, writing. Then created Little House on the Prairie, his show, his vision, his control. It ran 9 seasons, made him millions, made him a legend. Then, Highway to Heaven. Another hit, another fortune. Michael Landon died in 1991 at 64 from cancer. Rich, successful, beloved. Robert's final words about Landon: I hated Michael Landon, not because he was wrong, because he was right. He understood Hollywood better than I did, understood that success matters more than principle, that winning matters more than being right. He stayed, played the game, got rich, got famous, got control. I left, stood on principle, got blackballed, got broke, got nothing. Who was smarter? Him, obviously. Who was right? Me, objectively. But what does being right matter if nobody cares? If you lose everything? If you die alone and bitter, while the people who compromised die rich and beloved? Michael Landon taught me the hardest lesson. Sometimes the bad guys win. Sometimes playing the game works. Sometimes principles are just pride in disguise. I still think I was right, but I'm not sure I was smart. But Michael Landon, Lorne Greene, David Dortort, Dan Blocker, NBC executives, they were all Hollywood, all industry. The real enemy? The ones who hated Roberts most? They weren't in Hollywood at all. They were watching at home. 60 million strong. And they never forgave him for leaving. The fans. The unforgiving audience. This is where the interview grows darkest, where Roberts' voice fills with something worse than anger, something approaching fear. You want to know who I really hated? Who made my life hell for 40 years? Who never, ever forgave me? Not the executives, not the producers, not my co-stars. The fans. The goddamn fans. The fan reaction to Roberts leaving was immediate and vicious. When he announced his departure from Bonanza, he received thousands of letters. Not supportive letters, but hate mail. "You're abandoning us. You're destroying our show. You're betraying the Cartwrights." Betraying fictional characters, that's what they accused him of. But it grew worse. Death threats. Actual death threats for leaving a television show. "You deserve to die for what you did. I hope you get cancer. Someone should shoot you like you're a character on Bonanza." People recognized him in public, yelled at him. Once, an old woman spit on him in a restaurant. He asked why. She said, "You abandoned us. You were family. You left." He tried to explain about the racism, about the principles, about why he had to leave. She didn't care. "You left. That's all that matters." The hatred continued for decades. In the 1970s, unemployed and doing theater, a fan magazine found him and conducted an interview. "Do you regret leaving Bonanza?" "No, I'd do it again." The magazine published it. The letters started again, hundreds of them, all hateful. "You're ungrateful. You're arrogant. You think you're better than us." Even success didn't change the narrative. 1979 brought Trapper John M.D., his comeback. 7 seasons, hit show, finally vindication, proof he'd been right to leave, that he could succeed on his own terms. But the fans? Still bitter, still angry. Reviews of Trapper John mentioned Bonanza. Roberts finally found success after his disastrous decision to leave television's greatest Western. Disastrous decision. Even when he succeeded, they framed it as redemption, not vindication. Like he'd sinned by leaving and was finally being forgiven. He wasn't asking for forgiveness. He was right. He'd always been right. But nobody cared. Because he'd committed the unforgivable sin. He'd left them. The bitterness is raw now, unfiltered. You want to know what I learned from the fans? What 40 years of hatred taught me? People don't want artists. They want servants. They don't want principles. They want entertainment. They don't want you to stand for something. They want you to stand exactly where they left you, forever, until you die. The fans didn't care about racism on Bonanza, didn't care about stereotypes, didn't care about what the show was teaching their children. They cared that I left, that I changed their routine, that I dared to put my principles before their entertainment, and they never forgave me. Not when I struggled, not when I succeeded, not ever. To the fans, I'll always be the ungrateful actor who abandoned Bonanza, who thought he was too good for television, who ruined their favorite show. Never mind that Bonanza ran 8 more years without me. Never mind that it was still a hit. Never mind that my leaving changed nothing except my own career. They hated me anyway, because I left them, and audiences don't forgive being left. Roberts' final words about the fans. Hollywood, I understood. They're a business. Principles cost money. I get it. But the fans? They weren't losing money. They were just losing a character. A fictional character on a television show. And they hated me for it, with a passion that scared me, with a violence that shocked me. That's when I understood. Fame isn't about being loved, it's about being owned. The fans thought they owned me, owned Adam Cartwright, owned my loyalty. And when I took myself back, when I said, "No, I own me," they never forgave it. The executives blackballed me for 14 years. But the fans? They never stopped. Never forgave, never let go. 40 years later, until the day I died, people still came up to me in restaurants, at airports, on the street, and said the same thing. Why did you leave Bonanza? Never, thank you for standing on principle. Never, you were right about the racism. Just, why did you leave us? That's the real hatred. Not Hollywood, the fans. Because Hollywood eventually moved on, but fans never do. They hold grudges forever, and they make sure you pay. Epilogue. Being right isn't enough. The interview tapes end with Pernell Roberts, alone. No more names, no more blame. Just reflection. Marcus, you asked if I regret leaving Bonanza, if I'd do it differently. I've had 40 years to think about it. 40 years of unemployment, blackballing, hatred, poverty, struggle. And the answer is no. I don't regret it. I'd do it again. Not because it worked out, it didn't. My career never recovered, not really. Trapper John was good, but 7 years doesn't erase 14 years of nothing. Not because I was happy, I wasn't. I spent decades bitter, angry, resentful, watching people who'd compromised succeed while I struggled. I'd do it again because I was right. And sometimes being right is all you have. Bonanza was racist. That's not opinion, that's fact. The scripts stereotyped Native Americans, Mexicans, Chinese, black people. It taught 60 million people that these groups were inferior. That's evil. Comfortable evil. Popular evil. But evil. And I couldn't be part of it. Even if leaving cost me everything. Even if nobody thanked me. Even if history barely remembers. I was right. And they were wrong. And 50 years later, anyone with eyes can see it. But here's what I learned, what 40 years taught me. Being right doesn't matter if you're alone. Being right doesn't pay rent. Being right doesn't rebuild a career. Being right doesn't make people love you. Being right is just being right. Nothing more, nothing less. And sometimes, most times, being right costs everything and gives you nothing. His voice softens, not with regret, but with acceptance. I'm 80 years old, dying. A few months left, maybe less. And I'm still defending a decision I made 45 years ago, still explaining, still justifying, still wondering if anyone will ever understand. Probably not. Because I've been explaining for 45 years, and nobody's listened yet. They'll remember Bonanza. They'll remember Lorne and Dan and Michael. They'll remember the Ponderosa, the family, the Western. They won't remember that it was racist, that it was poison, that I left because I had to. They'll just remember that I left. And that'll be my legacy, the guy who left Bonanza. The difficult one, the ungrateful one, not the principled one, not the righteous one, not the one who was right, just the one who left. Maybe that's enough. Maybe being right for the wrong reasons is the same as being wrong. Or maybe history will understand. 50 years from now, 100. Maybe some kid will watch Bonanza and see what I saw. The racism, the stereotypes, the poison. And maybe they'll understand why I left, why I had to, why I'd do it again. Probably not, but maybe. That's all I have. Maybe. And the knowledge that I was right, even if being right cost me everything, even if nobody cared, even if I died alone and bitter. I was right, and they were wrong. That has to be enough, because it's all I have left. Years ago, I knew a man who restored vintage film cameras, the kind that used actual celluloid, that required patience and precision. Someone asked him why he bothered when digital was easier, cleaner, more efficient. He said,
Because sometimes the way you do something matters as much as what you do. Pernell Roberts understood that. He could have stayed, could have been comfortable, could have died wealthy and celebrated. But the way he would have lived, compromising what he knew was right, delivering poison disguised as entertainment, mattered more than the comfort. History will decide if he was brave or foolish. But he died knowing he looked at the mirror and saw a man who stood when it would have been easier to sit. And perhaps that mirror, that clean reflection, was worth more than all the money and fame he walked away from.
The tape ends. Click. Silence. Pernell Roberts died in 2010 at 81 from pancreatic cancer. Small funeral, few attendees, no Hollywood stars, no Bonanza cast. They were all dead by then anyway. Obituaries called him difficult, uncompromising, the actor who left Bonanza. Never the actor who stood on principle, never the actor who was right. But Marcus Webb kept the tapes, waited 14 years, released them in 2024. Because Pernell Roberts was right about the racism, about the stereotypes, about Bonanza being poison disguised as family entertainment. History proved him right. Eventually. But being right didn't save his career, didn't make him happy, didn't make people forgive him. It just made him right. Alone. Broke. Bitter. But right. And maybe that's the lesson. Not that principles matter, but that they cost. They cost friendships, careers, money, success, happiness. And sometimes, most times, the cost is too high. And the people who pay it die wondering if they were brave or just stupid. Pernell Roberts died not knowing, died defending, died alone. But he died right. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.